Japanese authorities say they'll invest hundreds of millions of pounds in an ice wall around the Fukushima nuclear plant to try and stop radioactive water affecting the population. Government plans have revealed that the earth around the plant will be frozen using pipes filled with coolant. The 27-metre deep wall of frozen earth will include pipes around the reactors, which will be cooled to around minus 40 degrees Celsius. It's hoped that the ice wall will prevent the highly radioactive water leaking from the plant's storage tanks from seeping into the ground and into the human food chain. Nuclear consultant John Large is sceptical about whether such plans can work.
The problems with ice walls is, of course, you can crack and fissure the clay and provide migration routes for the water and the radioactivity through the ice wall, so it's not at all certain. But fundamentally, the actual approach of trying to build up a reservoir of radioactivity, for example, cesium makes up the bulk, that has a half-life of 30 years, so it's good for about 200 years. That means that the ice wall and the containment will have to be maintained sure for several hundred years. That really is given a legacy to future generations to make sure that that technology is good for 200 to 300 years.
The radioactive leaks at Fukushima are so disastrous because the cooling systems at the plant melted down in 2011. Authorities then pumped water into the reactors to try and cool it down, but that meant that large amounts of radioactive water are now leaking into the ground. The process is creating an extra 400 tons of contaminated water every single day. Last month, 300 tons of that highly radioactive water leaked from one of the tanks in what is thought to be the most serious incident since the disaster. But the Japanese government hope that by investing in a wall of frozen earth, they can stop leaking radioactive water from contaminating the population. Matsuta Yumi is a freelance journalist in Tokyo. She says the Japanese population feel let down by the government.
I'm more worried about the policies and the decisions that have been made and are going to be made, because maybe radiation is up in the air but invisible. It's really hard to feel it. I'm not walking around with a Geiger counter anymore. There are some people who, with small children, they left Japan, went back to their hometown or went other part of Japan, and there is no guarantee and you don't know who to trust.
The new funds come after authorities on Monday revealed that the radiation leaking from the plant is now 18 times higher than originally thought. Measuring equipment has shown that the leaking water is emitting nearly 2,000 millisieverts an hour. That's the equivalent of having 100,000 chest x-rays, or 5 times more exposure to radiation than was caused by the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in 1986. Nuclear consultant John Large says the radiation seeping into the ground is likely to find its way into the human food chain.
If it's released to the marine environment, which is the natural egress path of groundwater in the area, it means that it can be transported well beyond the so-called 20-kilometre zone that they've put around the site on the land side to be deposited on the beaches. Of course, that material can then be blown onto onshore communities. And of course, many of the animals have the capability to reconcentrate the radioactivity in their tissues and organs. So there's a problem of creating new uptake pathways to communities which were considered to be remote from Fukushima.
Despite the large amounts of highly radioactive water still leaking from the Fukushima plant, Japan hopes to restart its reactors again to fill an energy deficit.